Okay, we are live. This is IRT. We're going to figure this out in real time, as the kids say. What's up, Philippe?
What's going on? How are you?
Good, man. Sunday, Sunday, Sunday. Our Sunday date. This is fantastic.
Yeah.
So, what's been going on with you? How's your week been?
Week's been good.
You know,
Just did the course launch. So the course
that's
Take Charge of Your Brain in 30 Days.
okay. Tell us more about that because I submitted myself for it. I didn't win, but tell us more about what Take Charge of Your Brain 30-day program is. Where do we go to find it? What
Yep.
exactly is it? I mean, we have talked about this in the past, but kind of what is it for people? Yeah.
Yeah, so it's an online course where I get to work with and help people with neurological disorders as well as chronic medical issues.
Mm.
The course, the way that it is broken up, it's more than 70 lessons spread across 4 different modules.
Wow.
Module 1 really talks about the importance of having a mission, vision, and purpose, despite whatever diagnosis you may have, and how that really helps with the evolution of the brain.
Mm-hmm.
Module 2 talks about preventable chronic diseases and the impact that those have on the brain, and things that we should just be doing every day to keep ourselves really healthy, and how things influence our bodies.
Yeah.
Module 3 really is about teaching us to have a completely different relationship with our brain.
Hmm.
Teaches us about the things that influence our neurological health, as well as different neurological disorders.
Hmm.
And then Module 4 is about creating a prescription plan that's rooted in the development of mind, body, and soul in order to get healthier, as well as to be able to create the life that you really want for yourself.
Okay, it sounds awesome. And is it only for people who are suffering? Like, who's the right person or group of people for this?
Yeah, so it'll be somebody with who has epilepsy, who has
Okay,
seizures,
okay,
somebody who's had a stroke, somebody with high blood pressure or diabetes, somebody starting to have some mild cognitive issues. So that's really who it's rooted for. People with Parkinson's and
got it,
multiple sclerosis,
got
low
it,
back pain, so things of that nature.
got it. So at its core, you'll have that set up on the website, and if people kind of think they're a fit, they can go submit themselves and sign up for the course.
Absolutely.
Okay,
Yep. And then as part of the
yeah.
course, depending on which package you choose,
Mm.
um, twice a week for 1 hour, you get live group coaching sessions with me.
Oh,
Um, so that's twice a week for the entire time.
should I be?
And you
Should I
actually
be?
get access.
Should you
What?
be charging me for this? We're doing
Right.
that. You should be charging me.
And you actually get access to the course for a full year.
Oh, that's great.
So where else do you get to hang out with the neurologist and ask whatever you
I
want
know.
for essentially 2 weeks or 2 hours per week for an entire year?
I love it. So where do they, and we'll put it in the description below, everybody, but where do they go to go get information, people who want to do it, or share, please share with your friends on this. This is speaking to Philippe, as and this is going to my live community, has been just an incredible, incredible gift and an incredible time spent. I feel like I'm learning things about my brain that I never knew, and it is even through osmosis, my old high school biology term there.
Yeah.
It's happening. So how do they find you?
Thank you. Thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah. So if they go to my website, inlebrainfitinstitute.com, INLEBRAINFIT institute.com,
Mm-hmm.
or they can go to my Instagram. My handle is Philippe.md, so PHILIPPE.md, or Facebook or LinkedIn, which is Philippe Duyon, MD. So they can find me in those places.
You're findable. You're searchable. They can find you.
Yep, they can find me.
I love it. Okay, great. So you got that, everybody watching. Let's make it happen. And now on to the main event. We are talking about the brain, and it's a really interesting pivot. The brain and super wealthy people, right?
Yeah.
So everybody thinks about this, right? And you read this in pop psychology books, and somebody who's made a lot of money, and let's just assume it's not inherited, right? Let's assume that it was
Right.
done through hard work, or something along these lines. Maybe it's not hard work. Maybe you'll tell me it's not. But that now we're going to talk about it not just from the grind it out, hustle, these types of things in the world, but there's something now I think you're going to tell me, because I believe this is part of your book, so what is it about the brains of super wealthy people that is different from me, for instance? As a not super wealthy person.
Well, I would say that, look, our brains
Yeah.
can be the biggest obstacle to achieving wealth. The reality is that wealthy people think differently than most people, right? We create these neural networks within our brains around money. So we've got a relationship with money that's completely based on what our families have taught us, what society tells us, what we read in articles, what we hear on social media, right? So for example, if I said to you, if I said, let's say, something that they normally say about money, money can't buy, like fill in the blank, money can't buy,
Love
okay,
or
or
happiness.
happiness, right? And so we've got this neural network around those things. Money can't buy happiness. Money can't buy love because we've heard that. Although they're false comparisons, right? I mean,
Right.
money and love or don't really have anything to do with each other. Money and happiness don't really have anything to do with each other. The reality is that if you're broke, that doesn't make you happy either.
Right.
And yet we say, money doesn't buy happiness, almost suggesting that there is something negative about money, right? And if you've got a negative relationship with money, how are you going to attract money to you?
So so now this is, I think people watching this will be familiar when we talk about, The Secret or other things probably in the past of this, but like neurologically, when you have a negative relationship to money, neurologically, like what's happening? We know a little bit about negative thoughts before, but say now that you have a negative association to money, and we'll get to what it looks like to have a super wealthy association to money, but
Sure.
what is like even average or negative, kind of what's happening in your brain there?
Well, think about this, right? What you focus on is what you tend to attract. And you've got a system within your brain that allows you to focus on what's important to you. And your brain is always, always trying to find the right answer. In fact, I'm going to change that up a little bit. Your brain is always trying to prove you right. So if you
Prove
think
me
that
right?
money is prove you right.
Oh, it's
Right?
okay, got it. Yeah, your brain is
So,
always trying to prove me right. Got it. Yeah,
yeah.
that makes sense.
So if you think that money is somehow negative, right? Then
Yeah.
your reticular activating system, which allows you to focus on things that are important to you, is now going to point out all the ways that money is bad in the world.
It's that damn reticulator activating system. I knew it. What is the
Right? And it's like,
Yeah, what is the
and if and,
Yeah, go. Sorry.
and if you think that money is bad, then do you really actually want it? Because then wouldn't that make you bad?
Right? Right? See, I knew it. Reticulator. What is the reticulator activating system, and what is it? Where is it? What does it do normally? I mean, other than
Right.
crush my financial dreams, what does it do?
So your reticular activating system is this group of neurons within your midbrain and your brainstem, and it's responsible for your level of awareness. So it does play a role in like sleep-wake cycle a little bit, but what its biggest role is now making you aware of the things that are most important to you, right? So if you ever get like, let's say, back in the day, I used to have a red car. And, I had never noticed anybody with this particular car, especially in red.
Right.
Then I get the car. I'm like, damn, everybody's got this damn car.
Right.
And it's not that there were more of these cars out on the road. It's that it became important to me because now I had it. And so the reticular activating system was constantly pointing it out.
So that really is, when you hear this a lot, that humans are pattern-seeking mammals. So is this
Yeah.
is it really comes down to this reticular activating system that either notices a pattern once it's activated or something like that?
Yeah, it notices whatever is important to you in the moment, whatever you're
Important to me.
telling it that is important to you.
Got it.
Right?
Got it.
And so when it comes to money, if you're saying, oh, money is horrible, if I said to you, money is the root of all,
Evil.
yeah, you've got that built-in network.
I hate that.
And now,
I wanted to say, let's try it again. Try it again.
money is the root of all.
My wildest dreams, Philippe.
Listen, then you must be super rich. You must be super rich.
I
Because
love it.
really, they have a completely different relationship with money than most people do, right?
Yeah. Got it. And so,
They
yeah, go.
the very wealthy think about money very differently.
Okay, well, let's pull on that thread. How are they thinking about it? How are they, and then maybe how can let's go. How are they thinking about it? And then maybe some tips and strategies for us normal folks to be training like that. If
Yeah.
everything is training on some level, would love, what does that look like for our brain to because we're the as I've learned, and everybody listening, say it with me. You are the master of your own brain. Some version of that, whatever. Your own brain.
Yeah, I mean, look,
Tell your
you've got
brain
to
what
be
to
the
do.
leader.
Leader of
You've
your
got to be
brain.
the leader that your
That's
brain
right.
so desperately needs you to
Leader.
be.
I love
Right?
that. Be the leader your brain so desperately needs you to be. That's right.
Yeah.
That's right.
And so, I think we've talked a little bit about that. There are some studies that show we have anywhere between 12,000 to 16,000 or 60,000 thoughts per day.
Oof.
And out of those, 60,000 thoughts, 60 to 70% of those thoughts are negative.
And you've
So,
said this before. This is not like everybody, when I say these stats, this is not like me making that up or you
right.
making that up. And how do they determine that? Are they like inside going, I wonder, like there's not a little guy in there like Minions or whatever that cartoon movie is where somebody's like, well, I think that's a negative thought, like counting it. Like, how do
Yeah.
you determine a negative thought versus a positive thought
Yeah. You know
neurologically?
what? I have no idea how they.
Okay, good. But it's a
Same way,
statistic.
I have no idea how they come up with, that we've got somewhere between like 80 and 100 billion neurons in our
Right,
brains.
right. But that'll
Right?
be good. We'll talk about that on another call. But let's take that
Yeah.
stat for what it is for now. Okay,
Yeah.
got it.
And so, right? So the vast majority of our thoughts are negative, right?
Mm.
And then when you take into account that about 90 to 95% of our thoughts repeat themselves every single day. So now we're just repeating negative thoughts to ourselves. And we're repeating the negative associations that we have with money, right? And then it's like, if that's the case, how are people supposed to attract money into their lives, right?
Right.
I remember I was having this conversation once with somebody, this is about a year and a half, 2 years ago. And they were talking about how, like this is like the neighborhood that we are having this conversation in, that it's not a wealthy neighborhood.
Right.
You know? And I was just like, what are you talking about? I was like, the building that we're in must be worth like, at least $50 million. You're in New York City.
Right.
And then the block has a whole bunch of buildings. So you're probably like on a block that's worth $1 billion. There's money all around you.
Yeah.
It's really about how you think about these things.
Yeah.
Because the way that you think determines how you're going to act. And when you think in certain ways, right, then you see opportunity where people who think very negatively about money may not see those opportunities. And then when you see opportunities, you take action.
Neurologically, do those cycles of so say it's 70% negative and they're cycling somewhere like, I mean, this might be difficult as I'm learning about the brain. It's not as compartmentalized as I thought it was. It's a lot of, it's a lot of
interaction.
But where does that happen in our brain? Even like broad strokes. Yeah.
So, they've really studied the amygdala, which we've talked about plays a role in fear and emotions. They've studied the hippocampus, which we talk about being the place where short-term memory is made. And then they've really looked at the frontal lobe, your prefrontal cortex, which is sort of the seat of making executive decisions. Right? Okay. And so let's say, you're somebody who is not wealthy. You've got a negative association with money. You're probably broke. So you're really stressed about money, right?
Yeah.
We've talked about the impact that chronic stress has, especially on the hippocampus, where now you're not making new memories. You're only focused on that perceived threat, that negative association that you have. That's all you're focused on.
Yeah.
Your amygdala is probably hypersensitive because you're probably scared. You're like, oh, crap. How am I going to feed myself? How am I going to pay my rent? How am I going to do whatever? Yeah. And then now your prefrontal cortex, where you're supposed to be making decisions from, you're just making not the best decisions because it's coming from a very fearful place. And you can't see opportunity because your hippocampus is just focused on the negative associations that you have.
You know, you just made me think of something. We should do like I would love to demystify. It's not even demystify. It's almost like you almost want to have like Mr. Hippocampus and Miss Amygdala and like, hey, did you hear? You know, like a very fun story of all of those things, those people like that you control, that you're the leader of in your brain. Like they're just slackers. They're slacking off in this category. And it's just like whipping them into shape on some level to have them do what you desire or what you would like to go towards. I hadn't thought of that. I want to do that. We'll do a little drawing and at some point. That'd be fun.
Yeah, and here's the interesting thing, that they're actually not slacking off. They're doing what they are meant to do, which is to keep you safe, to enhance your survival, right? And so it keeps you focused on any perceived threat because that's going to enhance your survival. It keeps you making decisions that, you know, kind of minimize your risk because that's going to enhance your survival. Where what very wealthy people tend to do, they take risk. They take calculated risk.
Right.
But even in the face of fear.
In the face of fear. Okay. So you're really, and that's you're really taking on your amygdala there, right? That's really the amygdala acting.
Right. And you're saying, look, amygdala. Yeah,
I like this. We need to have
amygdala as a miss, I think.
Miss Amygdala.
So you're saying, look, Miss Amygdala, it's cool to be scared, but guess what? We're going to send some information to our prefrontal cortex that says that even though we're scared, we're going to act in a way that potentially gives us a very big reward. And if it doesn't go our way, no worries. We'll figure it out.
Not your fault. I made the call. Not your fault.
Yep.
Okay, maybe that'll be valuable.
And look, that is being the leader that your brain needs you to be.
I like that. We need to get that on a t-shirt. Be the leader your brain needs you to be.
Yeah.
That's good. Okay, so now we move into the super wealthy conversation, right? So the super wealthy are doing something different. I want to like try to phrase it in a way that is not just they're doing the opposite of me, but they're eating something, they're training in a way, they're getting up, you know, I don't want to get up at 4 a.m. every day, you know, like these things. So what is that they're doing to their brain more often than that I am, for instance?
And so this is something that I talk a lot about in my course, and that is that the super wealthy are constantly developing themselves, developing their mind, their body, and their souls. They're constantly learning new things. They're adapting. They're reinventing themselves, right? When you look at, you know, we're sort of in the middle of, we are in the middle of this pandemic. I saw something this weekend that showed that the wealthiest people in this country have made like an extra, I don't know, $300 billion since the start of the pandemic.
That's a big number.
Right?
Yeah.
I mean, like, clearly they are doing things very different than most people are doing. They're seeing opportunity. They're going for it. You know, they're learning from, you know, this place that we are right now in history, this moment in history, and they're taking risks. Yeah.
And are they doing? I mean, you've read enough of this. I mean, and you've had people that have said, "I'm super." Aside, because that's a narrative. I think I could read that in maybe like call it a psychology book, or I could read that in Think and Grow Rich, for instance. And so like, if I am taking charge of my brain, or if I'm telling others to do the same, like neurologically, I want to go, okay, this is like almost like if I'm running a play. All right, amygdala, you need to do this. And now hippocampus, you need to, like, so what's the play that I want to run over and over and over again to the varying parts of my brain that get me to where the mindset is of a super wealthy person, for example?
Yeah, so I think there's several different things that you need to do. I think one, when those negative thoughts come in, you got to find a way to push them out and replace them with something positive.
You have to know that they're coming in, right? What is?
So you have to be aware.
So what's the awareness? Where does awareness pop up? Which part of the brain does awareness?
Oh, I mean, your reticular activating system, which is responsible for awareness, sends projections everywhere.
And
into the brain.
is there anything good to help the reticular activation system? I love that I know how to say that now.
Yeah.
Can I help that along? Can I train it? Can I do like a Rocky IV movie where I'm like reticulator training it or something?
Yeah. So when you affirmations are a great way to do that,
Okay.
right? Because you're essentially telling yourself what it is that's important to you, showing yourself the same message, or writing it down and exposing yourself to the same message over and over lets your brain know this is important. This is what I want to focus on. Right?
Okay. Okay.
And so that helps you to become more aware.
Okay.
Constantly learning new things
okay. So
allows
that's
you to become more aware.
yeah. Go.
Yeah, one of the things that I talk about in my course, but also talk to patients about who want to be healthier, is that, well, if you want to be healthier, you need to change who you are to some extent. If you want to be wealthier, you need to change who you are to some extent. A lot of times, if you are not in great health, or if you are, financially not where you want to be, a lot of times it's because of you.
Ooh,
right?
that's a
And
tough one. That's
gotta,
very libertarian of you.
yeah,
I love it. Yeah.
And not all the time, right? There are
Yeah.
things that happen that are way beyond our control. There are
Right.
illnesses that are no fault of anyone's, right? There are circumstances, financial circumstances, that are not the fault of anybody.
Sure. Sure.
But there's a lot of times where we need to make changes in ourselves in order to get to where we need to be.
Okay, I totally love that. So we get the awareness part. The first
Yeah.
part of the play is awareness. So
Awareness.
I'm more aware. What's the second layer or second step of that play?
Yeah. So when those negative thoughts come in,
Yeah, I'm aware it's negative. Then what?
you're aware that it's negative. You got to push them out. You got to replace them with something else. You got to give yourself a cue. Like that cue could be, no, cancel
Okay.
that.
Okay.
Doesn't mean that you're going to become aware of things as soon as you do it, as soon as you think it. It might be 10 seconds into that thought. It might be 2 minutes into that thought. But once you become aware of it, it's like, oh, no. Cancel that and replace it with something else.
Okay, that's a third step, the replacement. So, and then do you have to have like a go-to replacement thought or replacement group of thoughts that you want to put in there?
I think you certainly can. I think it needs to be a thought that's going to empower you.
Yeah.
Right. I mean, one of the things that I often say is don't believe a thought that doesn't empower you and the other people around you.
Ooh, say that again, because I need to hear that.
Don't believe a thought that doesn't empower you and the people around you.
I like it. See, did you get that, brain? Philippe said it, so you know it's true. I'm talking to myself and my brain. It very much feels like I'm doing Inception from that movie with Leonardo DiCaprio, but for, in this case, money. I'm going to sleep, a dream within a dream, and then I'm basically incepting that, you are super wealthy or something, which is, okay, so changing it to something, and then what else happens after I've, maybe either blocked or canceled or insert word for the negative thought, and now I've started to work on the more empowering thought in this case.
And I think if you want results, that you got to take action.
Action.
Right?
Yep.
You've got to take pretty big action, and sometimes that action, or most of the time, that action is going to be really scary.
Yeah.
It's going to be really uncomfortable.
Now you need a sniper that is shooting your amygdala down and deflating your. So is it that the amygdala is like asleep, or is always like? It feels like the amygdala is kind of like this neurotic-y, but in a good way, person that's like always on guard, going like, all right, what's going on? Like searching, like, oh, fear over there. And they're kind of like, I can't think of a better analogy for that.
And in some people, it's really hypersensitive.
Hypersensitive, yeah.
Right? Especially in people that have experienced significant traumas, it may be hypersensitive. Or just, some people, for whatever reason, their amygdalas are a little more sensitive than others. And they can be really anxious about things as a result. But yeah, it's about learning how to just kind of reel some of that stuff in, not letting it paralyze you, and take the steps that you need to take.
All right, this is going to be the good Rocky question. So what are some good strategies for amygdala training to get beyond fear? And I think that, like, you can read a lot about this, and I've done some of this, with acting in the past. I've done Shakespeare on a train. I've done, monologues on an elevator facing the other way, like really sort of weird things. But What are some other things that you can do to help your amygdala train in an everyday scenario when when you kind of know it's safe to like get prepared for the big game? Something,
Right.
yeah.
So you know how when people are feeling anxious, their heart tends to race, their
Never,
breathing sort of
never. I've never
quickens.
felt anxious. Yes, every day. Yes.
They get a little shaky, they start to
Right.
perspire,
Right.
right?
Yes.
So I always say, like, look, anxiety starts in the brain and then has physical manifestations.
Ooh, so true.
Those,
So true.
those physical manifestations are normal. And
Yes.
they don't just happen in times of anxiety. They happen during other things,
Oh,
right?
Philippe,
Same thing happens
hang on,
when
because
you're exercising.
wait, hold that. I'm getting fear. My battery's low. Hang on, I have to get my charger. This is real time stuff. Hang on, keep talking.
Yeah, so you get those same sensations when you're physically active, when you're exercising. You start to sweat, your heart rate goes up, your breathing quickens. The same way that it does when you're feeling anxious. And so a lot of times it's recognizing that, and it's allowing yourself to feel those things in other scenarios.
Dude, I
Right?
actually felt fear. That's a
Yeah.
perfect example. I was like, oh my God, my computer is going to die. And everybody's going to be like, oh my God, you totally cut Philippe off. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So what did I
Right?
miss?
So yeah, no, just look, we've talked about exercise before, right?
Right.
Exercise is great because it,
Yeah.
it, it lets your brain know, oh wait, this happens at other moments too, and I'm completely fine,
Got it.
right?
Yeah.
And it's slowly exposing yourself to that fear, that thing that you're afraid of, is another good way to go about.
Where is the amygdala as I'm thinking about it? Like I kind of my like where yeah, in my head.
It's like
Yeah.
in the middle aspect of your temporal lobe. So it's like like if you could slice your brain like down the middle,
Yeah.
you'd be like in there somewhere.
But it's very clearly a thing, right? Like
Yeah.
you know how we're talking a lot
It's
about connections, but the amygdala was it the size of a
it's
peanut?
an almond shaped
Isn't that crazy?
structure.
Damn almonds, man, making my
Yeah.
life miserable.
Almond
Almonds. I knew
almond
I was
shaped
a peanut
structure.
man. So it's an almond
Yeah.
that basically wreaks havoc, but in a good way sometimes, right? Obviously, you need it to be awake and aware.
Well, you need it to keep you safe.
Yeah,
It's
yeah,
only when these things get like hypersensitive and sort of out of control can it potentially have a negative effect. But
yeah,
every part of our brain
yeah.
is there for a reason, and our entire brain is to enhance our survival. And so every single part plays a role in that.
So interesting. You just said something very cool, which is so every part of our brain is there to enhance our survival. You know, and with some you'll hear things like, "I'm not here to survive. I'm here to thrive." Right? You'll hear
Yeah.
these types of. I like when I do that. I get into a 1970s DJ voice. I'm like,
Yeah.
so is it possible? I mean, obviously it's possible, but how do we get our brain to say to our, that conversation? It's not just a matter of survival. It's a matter of can I say thrival? It's not really a word, but that
Yeah.
thing where and that does that key it into this when we're talking about being super wealthy that it's not I'm not here to survive, but I'm here to thrive.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so, and you're right. The brain is there to keep you alive and to enhance your survival.
Right.
And it does a great job doing that.
Right.
When you want to thrive, it's about becoming the leader that your brain needs, right? And being like, listen, let's get out of this survival mode. Let's get out of this old reptilian brain mode.
Yeah.
And now let's use the evolutionary most recent part of our brains
Yeah.
to allow us to thrive.
Okay, so who's the superstar here? Who's the like in the brain? Which part of the brain is the thriving superstar? Like, and I'm not blaming the amygdala, but I'm saying like
Yeah.
amygdala, settle down for a second. We're gonna run a different play for this part of the brain. Like, who's the
Yeah.
real superstar here?
Then it's your cerebral cortex. It's
Yeah,
the newer part of
cerebral.
the brain from an evolutionary perspective. It's the part
Come
of the
on.
brain responsible for all the decisions and thinking that we do.
Come on, cerebral cortex. I love
Yeah.
it. So how do we? So where is the cerebral? Is the cortex
It's
just
like,
like everything, right?
yeah, it's all up here.
Okay, and then how do we
See,
improve?
this is why I shaved my head.
Yeah, this is it.
Like,
Exactly.
it's right here.
Exactly. So how do we improve our cerebral cortexes? How do we, same question, how do we train our
Yes.
cerebral cortex to be the champion we need it to be to live in this world and thrive, not just survive?
Yeah. So you need to have new thoughts,
New
new
thoughts, new
experiences,
experiences. Okay.
constantly learning, exposing yourself. If you want to be, wealthy, you gotta appreciate wealthy people, right?
Yes.
And what they did to get there.
Yes.
Assuming,
Let's just,
they
we did this. We did the
right,
thing earlier where it's not just inherited. They've,
right.
that's this. What
And
we're
you got
going
to
with.
spend time with them because you've got to learn what they did to get there and how they think about money and about life.
Right.
Because clearly they're thinking about it very differently and acting upon the way that they're thinking in ways that are different than the way that a lot of people act.
What are okay? And then, so your
So,
new
so
experiences,
yeah.
new stories, learning, spending time with the super wealthy in this way. What are some like blocking and tackling things that
Well,
our cerebral? Sorry, yeah.
yeah. So, like, for instance, like, let's say most people, if they were getting a raise or a bonus this year, right?
Yeah.
What are most people going to do with that bonus?
This is a trick question. With that bonus, I'm going to say there's probably some people will buy something like
Yeah.
a car, a house,
Mhm.
or like a one-time type purchase, or some people will invest it maybe.
Some people will invest it,
Yeah,
but
some.
a lot of people that are sort of, broke or middle class, they're going to buy something without value,
Yeah, yeah,
right?
yeah.
And your wealthy people are probably going to invest it in their next, you know,
Right.
rental property or in their next,
Sure.
they're buying land, they're buying art, they're buying something that's going to go up in value.
They're taking
Or
they're taking the Inlay Brain Fit Institute's course.
right,
I feel
that's
like
right.
that's what they're doing. Exactly. No,
Yeah,
for instance,
they're
yeah.
doing something. They're investing in themselves, and that's probably the first thing that anybody who wants to change their life in some way needs to do. Because very wealthy people are constantly doing this. They are investing in themselves. They are taking courses. They are reading books. They are joining masterminds. They're hanging out with other wealthy people. If there's a course that they want to take that's in Paris, they're not going to let that 6 hour flight stand in their way.
Right.
Right?
Right.
From that 6 hour flight from New York stand in
Mask
their way.
mask or no mask.
Mask or no
Wear
mask, right?
that wear that
They're
mask.
constantly investing in yourself. And in fact, investing in yourself is the best investment you can ever make.
So you mentioned mastermind real quick. So because it has the word mind in it. So
Yeah.
what is your brain? So we already have established that the cerebral cortex is our friend here. Read up on the cerebral cortex, make friends with the cerebral cortex. What are some of the things when your mind or your brain is around other mastermind brains, like which part is it the cerebral cortex that's like really firing, or is it
Mhm.
saying like, or is the cerebral cortex telling a few other parts of the brain like, get on it, go, you get on the motorcycle, you get on the bicycle, like whatever, like start rowing. I mean, is it a field general or is it doing the heavy lifting?
Yeah. Well, remember when we were deciding what we were going to talk about today,
Yeah,
you had said, oh, either mirror neurons or this,
mirror neurons, right?
right? And so mirror neurons is a group of neurons that
Yeah.
actually mimics what the people around you are doing,
Okay.
right?
Yeah.
And so when you look at people, if you're hanging out with people who are like not doing much with their lives, you're probably not going to do much with your life, right? Your neurons, your brains are going to fire on that frequency, on the same frequency that they're firing on. You surround yourself with very wealthy people who are doing some really amazing things in life.
Yeah.
It's going to bring your game up because your mirror neurons are now going to mimic what those people are doing. They're going
Okay.
to start firing on those higher frequencies.
Yeah.
And you're going to change your life in that way.
What is a mirror neuron made up of? Where is it? Is it in my body? Is it only in my brain? Like I'm thinking like when you do this, I do, you know what I mean? Like we
Right.
do it the
It's the
same.
same thing. Yeah, it's the same thing, right? It's like, if I do this, somebody else might do this. If I drink, some water,
Right.
the person in front of me or next to me may be tempted to drink some water. We see it happen all the time. We mimic the behavior of people next to us. And so it's really important that we also spend time with people who allow us to get to where we want to get to in life.
Got it. And this is not just the people, but like you said, reading. This is spending time with those Think and Grow Rich has this great thing where you have the mastermind. It's almost like a virtual mastermind of like you're reading about Abraham Lincoln, or you're reading about Mother Teresa, or you're reading about these people, whoever it is, Harriet Tubman, that you kind of feel are in your frequency that you want to achieve. Whatever your definition of wealthy is. In this case, we're talking financial, but it could be anything.
Yeah, absolutely. So who you spend your time with is incredibly, incredibly important.
Got it. And how do you lock it in? So, you hear a lot about like writing or recording yourself, or what is like something that it doesn't just, because it could go, I spent time with somebody and it was great and it was in and out. So how do you lock it in?
Yeah, I think it's by taking action. Right? I mean, when you think about the way
emotional action, right? So that is that something with emotion? Because we had said like your brain remembers things that are important to you with emotion. So emotionally intended action, not just like a check mark, right?
Yeah, no, there needs to be intention and purpose, and you've got to take action. And even when things aren't going the way that you want to in the moment, you still have to take action.
Got it. And is the cerebral cortex responsible for that, or is there an action part of the brain that is like, take action, guys?
So cerebral cortex, the middle part of your brainstem, it all plays a role in your ability to take action and your ability to move. Even we've talked about your cerebellum, right, which coordinates your movement. So your entire brain, your spinal cord, your nerves, all play a significant role in your ability to move and take action.
Because in the same way, I think what we said earlier, right, when the amygdala is feeling fear, your whole body feels fear. So in this way, when your cerebral cortex is thriving, your whole body can feel thriving.
Absolutely.
Ooh, I felt good on that. I hope you're watching this, people, and mirror neuroning on this. Cool. I love this. I think this is a perfect place to end. I like it. We can come back to mirror neurons, but let's close with a favorite story of yours on how have you? I mean, is there a favorite story of somebody who was very wealthy that you got inspired by this, or that was your topic? So, what was it about that topic that really spoke to you?
So, I think I've done a lot of work and continue to do a lot of work in developing myself over the last couple of years, because I appreciated that I wanted a very different life. Yeah. I wanted to be able to influence a lot more people. And so I had a good friend of mine, Bob, who I've known who I knew since I was probably like around 17 years old when I was teaching tennis. It's this older Jewish guy. And you would think, well, what is this young black guy at the time and this older Jewish guy? They have like nothing in common. And we became really, really good friends. And initially it started out me teaching him tennis, and then I would just play tennis with him. And he actually passed away about a year ago, suddenly. And actually 2 days after he and I played tennis. But one thing I always appreciated in Bob, and Bob did very, very well for himself. Yeah. He was very well off. He was always learning and growing, right? So even in tennis, he was always like, trying to get better. And most people would be like, Bob, you're like 70 years old. Like, what are you talking about right now? You're not going to be on the pro tour. But every time he was like, nope, trying to get better. And that's how he thought about everything, right? Yeah. And so when you look at a lot of wealthy people, they're always trying to get better in every aspect of their lives. Yeah. They're not just kind of settling for what they have. They're always trying to push themselves to the next level. Right.
Level up, kids. I love that. I love always be learning, ABL. And apparently get better at tennis, Adam. That is key.
That is key. My dad told me today, he's like, he printed out an article for me that says ping pong is one of the best, it's the best sport that you can play for your brain. I was like, I always say that it's tennis.
Ooh, hey, I like that as a future episode, which is what are sports in the brain, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
On it. Okay. Well, everyone, thanks for watching. Thanks for joining us, whether you joined us live or you're coming back and watching it. Again, like we said, go to visit Philippe, Dr. Philippe Duyan at www.inle, I-N-L-E, BrainFit Institute, brainfit.com, right? No institute.
BrainFitInstitute.com.
Oh, it is BrainFit Institute.
BrainFitInstitute.com, yep.
Right, and take his course. chat them up. Not every day we get to speak to a neurologist, so we will keep doing this, and we'll see you soon. Philippe, I'll see you in a week, my friend.
Yep, sounds good.
All right.
All right, take care.
Bye.